So I think the importance of libraries today is beyond just checking out books. I recently learned that they have maker spaces, which would give people opportunities to explore things they wouldn't normally be able to. Like it would be too cost prohibitive for them to do something like that. So it really allows people to broaden their knowledge. I think today libraries are more of centers of information in general, be it through internet or maker spaces, and they are just books. And it's a testament to how they change with the times.
I think libraries are beneficial to the community because they provide a place where you can get books for free. You can spend time there to read, you can research things. Most, if not all, libraries will have internet for people who don't have internet at home, students who need that. Book clubs meet there. It's just all around a good place to get things to read for pleasure if you want, or to actually educate yourself on things. So I think it's a really good resource.
The relevance the library system still has to me today is I will find myself still going to the library, not as much as checking out books, but I find that I will have a lot of books that I seem to end up donating there and going through and listening to a lot of the authors that find themselves there and talking. It is much more of a community center. I've gotten to know a lot of the employees that work there, a lot of the other patrons that work there, so it's kind of a social gathering now. Just wish they had a little bit of a cafe there.
Libraries are great for the community, mostly because it's a place for the community. It's especially in communities where maybe there's not a whole lot of playground space for kids, or there's not a whole lot of space for the community to meet and interact. It's a great place for events and everything like that to actually get out to the community. And so even just stuff like, further education, helping people find jobs with computers, everything like that is just a great opportunity for everyone. And the library is a great place to have that because usually they are so centrally located and people come there anyway for a variety of things. And it's great because it's oftentimes the first time, especially in a lot of lower income communities where kids have access to books. A lot of homes and a lot of schools that aren't as well funded don't have access to books. And that, according to the Barbara Bush Foundation for Children's Literacy, that's one of the main reasons why we have illiterate children in America. And so libraries are the place that is free. People can come there, check out a book, and it's a great way to get people reading and just furthering literacy, which helps them with education, jobs, having a better life overall. So libraries are it's the place to be.
Whether you're a student, a teacher, just an average person walking the streets, you can't afford to pass up everything that the library has to offer to you. There are books, there are videos, there are even video games that are just there for you to use. And there are people out there who can't get those any other way. And some of them don't know that the library has that for them.
Well, just like before, nowadays libraries bring people together. They organize a lot of activities and everybody can find something there. So it's a good place, and regional libraries are free of charge, so they are very accessible to everybody.
Well, libraries are the centerpiece of our communities, and they are safe spaces and institutions that people trust more than just about any other, so surveys have shown. And for that reason, that is why a library should be not on the chopping block when it comes to funding time up in our state capitals or other sources of funding. And furthermore, libraries are cost effective. So being a trusted, safe space and cost effective source to the community, why not libraries?
They get people together in a way that you can't really do more over the internet. And libraries still hold a lot of books that you're not going to find online, such as the out-of-print stuff. And it's still kind of hard, even if you have a power outage, you're not going to be able to get anything online. But the library's building is still going to be there, even if, a Category 5 comes through, most likely.
Probably the best example of the way that libraries are still useful is one that I used to drive by all the time in, I guess it would be Rainbow Lakes, Zephyr Hills on 54. It's a little community library that's in the middle of a lot of residential areas, and they put on different activities every week for older people to come together and do sewing and knitting or discuss a book. They do things over the weekend for kids to come in and play games with books. So I think that it's just a really great way to tie in the community, especially if it's a local library, to get people together and sharing common interests and talking about getting to know each other.
Unfortunately, at the risk of sounding cliche, I think that everybody should be able to have access to books. And unfortunately, a lot of books that are necessities for whatever situation are expensive, and not everybody can afford books. So obviously a library is crucial to not just like school children who like need these books for like projects and things, but anybody who wants information and maybe doesn't have access to a computer, that's another thing. So I think basically for me the library is just accessibility of information, which we need an informed community.
Everybody's thinking about money today. The money is not, you cannot find that money everywhere. So, but to me, to find a place like a library where you can get, books, even though you have to return them, but you can have the pleasure to read them for free.
So, aside from offering a near unlimited supply of books, because obviously you have more than one library to go to, and there's always interlibrary alone. I think libraries are great because they're a way to provide a service that may not necessarily be available in poor or just in areas that may not value the service that a particular service that a local library is providing. For instance, it's automatically assumed that everyone has a smartphone. About a third of the American population has an Apple product, so it's really not that hard to make that assumption. But in terms of like tax season, when government jobs become available. For example, in the Miami-Dade area, the line to use the computers can become so long that it actually goes out of the building and wraps around the entire facility. So that doesn't just display the importance of having free information, free books, like I said earlier, graphic novels, or just print to begin with, but computers, music, video games, everything of that nature. So I think libraries are great for supplying what we may not have in our homes.
Yeah, I believe library is still a very important, should be a very important part in our life. At least there are three major functions. Number one is a place to preserve the culture and heritage for our local communities. It's a place for community engagements, and people can social and interact with a diverse group of other people together. And last is a place for librarians as educators who can support, provide any kind of service for helping young people and adults for any kind of learnings.
Libraries are great for the entire community because they're a free way for anyone, no matter how much money you have, to go and educate yourself, and has printing resources if you can't afford your own printer, and it's a fun way to spend your free time. So yeah, it's really useful for all ages and all different types of people.
They're just a good place to try on different identities. I think that's my favorite thing about what libraries are offering now and where they're going, is they are not just, in what you're reading, but there is different ways to kind of explore what's possible for you.
Okay, let's start with the definition of community. Community for me is something that people around me that looking for information. Library is part of a community. Why? Because it provides resources. a community, in order for us to apply that or to understand that, we need to provide tools. And so, as I said, my agenda is to provide new tools to the library that will offer its users the ability to look for new information, and that's an essential part of what I see is the future of library. How can we use the library to provide the user more access to different type of data and not only the book catalog? The community still exists. It's part of our life. We share a lot of things together. Example, the weather. Example, the community share the same problems. Running cat that was not fine, and so the community still needs those library facility in order for it to serve its community. So, library is part of the community. There is no things that does not hold the community away from the library, and it's a requirement. Before I came here, I was in New York, and one of the things that I did was I was teaching at the University of Albany in New York, Albany. And I used to come from New York, and so I used to drive through small towns such as Hudson, such as that has only one small library. Every time that I used to do that, I used to stop in those local communities and see the libraries. All those libraries where people used to live and used to have a meeting, community meetings that still was part of the community, that defined the community. The library was the roof above the community, and they used to bring to those meetings their problems, their personal problems, the problems of looking for information and what can the library provide us. We still need that. We still need the library to do that, and the community still need to do that, to have that in order for it to help the community to develop. And we are still in the process of developing the community, and the community needs the library to have this resource. So that's my take.
So libraries are important to the community as a whole because they serve as an ancient requiem, a place of safety for a bunch of book lovers, somewhere with credible sources where you don't have to worry about who wrote what Wikipedia page, and it's just like classic. It's a classic go-to. Just go to the library and learn something.
Living in Brooklyn, libraries are an extremely important part of the community. I feel like there's a very strong presence of the public library system in enabling people within our community. For example, we had a workshop recently that my boyfriend attended that's about gentrification and knowing the laws about housing, because it's something that's very pertinent to what is happening to the Brooklyn community, and empowering people with the knowledge of what they can do to keep the rent from being so high and getting kicked out of their apartments. So libraries, I feel like in the sense of community, can also help rally people with public and social issues, gathering people together to have workshops where they can talk about these sort of things.